With that tutorial, and that tutorial we're going to look at how to use fat arrows and also how to implement optional parameters and then required parameters. Okay, so on this channel what we do is we'll do a lot of video tutorials on programming, and also we look at IT or tech tricks, and also we look at how to make money using online process. Okay, so let's get started, and I would like you to subscribe to our channel and also turn on the notification bell. Okay, so let's continue with our function. So this is the default look of our that part, and then here you can simply type that part.dev. Okay, then you can start with us here. If you have not checked our previous videos, you can kindly go back and then check our that series and also our flutter series. Okay, so we are looking at what today? We are looking at fat arrows, fat arrows, fat arrows, arrows, and required, required, and required and optional parameters. So we are looking at fat arrows, required, and optional parameters. Okay, perfect. So this is the entry point of that, and this is a default function we always have in our code. Okay, so we want to demonstrate how to actually use a fat arrow function, and fat arrow functions are basically mini functions where you can write on one line of code. Yes, and then instead of using the curly braces, you don't use that, but you simply use some what we call the equal to and then the greater than symbol. That is the fat arrow. So for example, let's say we have this, and then we have a function that is returning a string. So let me say void. Let's create another function here, and then we say void, and void, the name of the function should be maybe hello function. Okay, and then we have, this is the name of the function, and then we have this function call here, and instead of us to use this curly brackets like this, we don't want to use this, but we instead, oh, let me clear this, we are only going to print hello. So we don't want to use that, we only want to use a fat arrow, and this is what we call the fat arrow. Very simple, right? Equal to and then greater than this. So this is actually a function that is gonna use the fat arrow. Okay, so how do we call this? Let me call this hello inside our main entry point, and then let's see what happens. Okay, so this is a very simple function, and then it is using the fat arrow on one line. That is very simple. You can write a bunch of function codes that is also gonna be using fat arrow, but you need to make sure all your code are on one line. Okay, so for example, let's say we have this lot of code like void, let's say void get parameter, like we did in our previous video, right? Let's get a parameter, and then let's say we still want to use the fat arrow for this, and then we have in here, we can even have our parameters. So like maybe int length, as we did in the previous video, int length, and then we have next will be breadth, right? So let's say int breadth. Okay, oh no, int breadth. Okay, good. And on the same line, we can use the fat arrows to execute our code, right? And here, let's say we want to print print out something here. So if we want to print probably the length or the parameter, we can say the parameter the parameter is what? 2 times parameter is 2 times length plus breadth, right? So we have 2 times this 2 here. Okay, yeah, so let me squeeze the console area to the side. Okay, so we say parameter here, we have to the parameter should be 2 times length plus breadth, right? So this is the mathematical expression for parameter. Good. So we have all this bunch of function right on one line, and this is gonna execute. So if we want to call this function, I have to call the get parameter in the function, and this is also using the Fatarrow, right? So, and then here we need to pass in uh, the parameters. Good. And this is type of what? Type of required parameter, right? Required parameters. Okay, so let me put probably 6 and then 8 here. Good, for getting this function, and then it should calculate that on the screen for us. So we say there, oh, I type double H here. Okay, go back. So we say the parameter is 20. Okay, the parameter is 20 on the console screen. Okay, good. All right, so let me let me comment these ones, let me comment these two, and then let's see how we can actually do what. Let's get to understand the two differences of required and optional parameters. That is pretty very simple. So let's look at this. Let me start from here. Okay, so for these two, we're gonna have two functions to simply give us the real meaning of what we mean by required parameters and optional positional parameters or optional parameters. Okay, so first we say number one. Okay, number one, we're gonna look at required parameters. Okay, required parameters. Okay, good. So we're gonna look at this optional parameters. Okay, and then we have one here. So one, let's look a function. Let's use a function void. Okay, a function with a return type of void, and then let's say show. The function name is show cars. Okay, show cars. That is the function name, and then inside here we're gonna have required strings in here. So we start with the keyword string, and then we will say probably let's use car 1. Okay, then next one will be car 2, car 3, just like that. So we're gonna only have about 3 required what parameters. Good. So let's say this is what car 3. Okay, excellent. So we have 3 parameters right now here. So inside this function, we're gonna print out this required parameters. So we use the print out here. So we say print out what? 1, 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so we say show cars on the screen. Okay, so this will be the sentence in each of them. Show cars on screen. Show cars on screen. Show cars on screen. Okay, so what are we gonna show? We're gonna show this as a parameter. So how do we call that as a parameter? We need to use the $sign, and then the same one. Oh no, so the same like this, but this is gonna be 2 and this is gonna be 3. Okay, so we have show cars on screen 1, show cars on screen 2, and show cars on screen 3. Okay, good. So now let's call the function right in our gateway, or the main function, as we know, because it's the mother function. So then I terminate this. Okay, let's run this and see what will happen on the screen. Boom, we got an error. Why did we get an error? Because 1, 2, 3 is a what? A required parameters, or it's a must what? Parameters. You need to pass in some figures here before it will actually run. If you don't pass in any figures here, it's gonna what? Print error on the screen. So we have a this is cars. So cars, it should be strings. Yeah, what I did was wrong. So this, and then the last one. So we say this is what? Toyota. We have the Toyota here. We have the Lexus, and then we have the Bentley. Okay, good. So let me run this and then let's see what happens on the screen. So boom, we have all displaying because the first one is required, Toyota, and the Lexus, the Bentley, all is required to show on the screen. Okay, good. So now let's look at optional what? Functions. Optional functions. Let's create another function beneath this one, okay, to see optional functions. So I say two. This is optional. So we can simply call this optional functions, optional parameters, or we can call it optional positional parameters. So it doesn't matter how you call it, but you can actually do these two types of what? Parameters in a function, that is optional, or you can have the required, whatever, right? So let's look at the optional positional parameters. Here, let's define another function, but probably it's gonna be the same structure. So let me say I have this, and I would say not show cars here. I'm gonna say show names. Instead of cars, I say show names. Yes, very easy. Name 1, name, oh, there should be a space, name 2, and then name 3. Okay, so here is a show names instead of what? Cars on the screen. So we're gonna have this show name. Oh, let me type it very fast. Show names. Okay, show names. Okay, and here to show names. Okay, and here should be what? Name 1, name 2, and then what? Name 3. Okay, perfect. So we got it here. So what are we gonna do next? Since this one was a required parameter and then we call that here, and then we pass in the what? We pass in the parameters. Here we want to have this function parameters being optional. So let's see how we're gonna do that. So let's say we have three options, right? So let me say we have a Carson here. We have a Lexus, yeah, a name of a person, and then we have what? We have what? Jay-Z or J here. Correct. Okay, good. So this one, this is now looking as a required what? Required function, which means when we click this, it's gonna do what? It's gonna run, okay? So this is how it shows. But what if I delete one of this? What happens? Let me run. Yes, we're gonna run into error because it's a must or a required what parameters. But since I am only passing in two parameters, where is the last one? That means it's gonna run, give us an error. So to prevent this from happening, if you want to have an optional parameter, you need to wrap around your optional parameter with a what? A square bracket. Very easy. Square bracket like this. Like this. Okay. So upon wrapping the square bracket around your what? Your parameter, it becomes optional. Okay. Let me see. Strings parameter. Let me see this string name. String name. Name of 3. Let me see. Oh, still getting errors. Expect a method getter setter operation online that can't be value is equal to nah. Okay, this is here. It shouldn't be here. Okay, let me see. What from this? Oh man, let me see whether there's any errors. Okay, wait. Let me see this. String name 1, name 3, then is equal to. Let me see this. Okay, this is running fine. And then let me do this here. 1 and then 2. Only 1. Okay, let me run and see. Compile and error. It's not okay. Explicit. No. Oh, what is okay? Let me check this out. Compilation failed. Parameter name can have a value of now because of its type string. But the implicit default value is now. Okay, let me try this. Okay, I got it. Let's try this. Okay, good. So this is kind of working because of the string, the return type that we were using. So it can actually do this to be optional. Good. So what we gonna do is to leave the what? Leave the return type this optional, or we keep it dynamic, you see. So if we keep it dynamic, it means it can accept any kind of what parameters that we are passing into it when you want to make it optional. You understand? Okay. So here you can type dynamic here, or you can leave the return type open. But what if we want to have two of this to be optional? Then we need to start the bracket from the second one, and then we can leave this empty, and it's gonna work, and it's gonna show us now for the two. So that is how we actually program what optional parameters and then required parameters. Okay, so I was using string here, and it's require you to actually what, leave it as a dynamic return type, and then that is gonna work perfectly. Okay, so peace, I'm out. If you have any questions, can you leave it down below the comment box, and I'm gonna get back right to you. Turn on the notification bell for our next video. Peace. I'm out.